students, and welcome once again. Today we are going to do the question answers and all the activities that are present in your textbook from the story Robinson Crusoe. Now, Robinson Crusoe used to live alone, and one day he saw a huge footprint. Now look at this footprint in the picture. It's quite huge. Now when we see something that is so bigger than us, we usually get scared about that, right? Now let's see what his adventures were, and you already know the story, so let's proceed with the new words. Now the new words given in your textbook are, and you have to write them in your notebook. First word is savages. Savages means wild people that are in primitive state. That means they are usually very orthodox, or they don't know about the civilization. They have been living in the wild or in forest all their lives. Mainland, that is a large continuous extent of a land, so it means a big land. Wandered means to move from one place to another and without a fixed direction or route. Bolder means to be more confident about yourself. There is another word given in your textbook that is not present in the picture. That is inhabited. That means, inhabited means a place where people are living or dwelling. You have to write these new words in your notebook. Now, here are the question answers which you have to write in your notebook as well. Now, the first question is, what made Robinson Crusoe think that the print on the ground was a footprint? So, what exactly made him think that what he saw was a footprint? Robinson Crusoe thought that the print was a footprint because it had toes, heel, and all parts of the human foot. So it looked like a foot that had toes, heels, and all the parts. Why was Robinson afraid when he looked at the bushes and trees? Now what was it that he saw and got him scared? He was afraid because he mistook every bush and every tree to be a man. After seeing the footprint, he got scared of everything that moved, even because of the wind. The third question is, why did Robinson pray when he saw the footprint? What makes us pray? It's either bad things or you are in a problem. There are very few people that pray in good times, but we should not only remember God in our bad times. So here Robinson started praying to God because he was afraid of the savages that would kill and eat him. So he prayed for his protection. Choose the right answer. This one you have to choose in your textbook. Robinson ran back to his home as fast as he could. Because he was racing? He was not racing. The reason why he went home was because he was scared. He was afraid. He was in a hurry to go home. No, he was not. Why was Robinson Crusoe sure that it was not his footprint? So what made him think that? Sorry, we have missed a question. He could not sleep. Why could Robinson not sleep? There was an animal outside his cave? No. There was no animal outside his cave. His bed was uncomfortable? No. He had slept in that bed for so many days. He thought savages had come from the mainland. He was afraid because he did not want to die. He thought that there are savages that would come and kill him. Why was Robinson Crusoe sure that it was not his footprint? It didn't look like a human footprint. Mhm. Have you seen that footprint? It looks smaller than this. He had not come to this part of the beach in a long time. Now, excuse me, he was afraid because he did not go or visit that part of that beach in a long time. Then how can there be a footprint? Where was Robinson Crusoe? Was he on a boat, in a town, alone in an island, or an aeroplane? Now, Robinson Crusoe was on a deserted island where he was alone. And that's why he was so scared. Moving on, how would you feel if you saw unknown footprints outside your front door? I would be like Robinson Crusoe. I would be scared. If someone did not come to your house and there are still footprints, then of course you would be scared, right? Or you just shrug it off. If you were alone at home and suddenly someone knocked at your door, what would you do? Now these two question answers, you have to write it in your notebook. You are alone and someone is knocking at your door. What would be the first thing that you would do? You won't open the door. You will look through the door, look in the peephole and see if you know that person or not. I will go to the door and peep through the hall to see who is there. Then I'll ask who's there. If there is someone whom I know, I shall open the door. Otherwise, I'll tell them to come later. And that's the rational thing to do. That's the right thing to do, the logical one. If you don't know someone, then don't open your door for them when you're alone. It could be a bad thing. If you don't know that person, tell them to come later when your parents are home so you can feel safe. Now, we are given jumbled words in a sentence and we have to unscramble them and form a sentence. One has been done for you. Alone was not Robinson an island on. Now, that does not make sense. But when we rearrange it, we form a good sentence like Robinson was not alone on an island. Was island the inhabited? The island was inhabited. Inhabited means no one used to stay there. On page number 54, we are given a few other questions. Footprint to someone this belongs. It would become this footprint belonged to someone. I looked around me. That sounds great and we know that's the right sentence, right? So if you have any problems making this sentence, try to form them in your mind and see do they sound right or not. I went towards footprint large. I went towards the large footprint. Was afraid I was afraid now. Now, there is also one part that I forgot. Suppose you find unknown footprints outside your house, then what would you do? We can react like Robinson Crusoe, or I would feel excited to see unknown footprints outside my front door if you are very curious and adventurous. I would have told my elder sister or brother about it and started finding some clues about it. So it depends on how you are. You can be scared, or you can ask for help and be curious and find the reason for it. Now, if you're alone and someone knocks, then you would first ask who is at the door. Then you will decide if you want to open it or not. Next, we are given fill in the blanks that you have to do it in your textbook. I was frightened but curious. When do we use but? When we are given contradictory situations. Like you're scared but you also want to know what's happening. So when we are scared, we hide. But when we are curious, you want to go and see it. So these are two opposite things. That's why we use but. I decided to go to the beach. Dash. I went along the water's edge. I decided to go to the beach, so I went along the water's edge. Here we cannot use because. We are not giving a reason for that. I ran as fast as I could because I was frightened. Now here we are giving a reason why we are running. That's why we used because. I was very tired and confused. Two things are happening together. Tired and confusion. Next. Write a story on strange footprints. You can either write your own story or you can write it from here. You have to write it in your textbook. Where did you see the footprints? What sort of a day was it? Now we're not talking about Monday, Tuesday like that. But what kind of day was it? Did you see them at night? What did you see at night? What happened when you followed the footprints? What did you see? What happened to them? Now here's a story about strange footprints that you saw. One day I was sitting alone in a park. A part of the track was muddy. Now, because of the muddiness, you saw strange footprints. Suddenly I saw footprints being made on the mud. I followed the footprints, but there was none. New footprints were appearing as if someone was walking away. Now, it was rainy and now it is muddy. You were sitting alone in the park. There was no one there. And suddenly you saw footprints on the mud. Now, you decided to follow those footprints, but there were none of them. They were not yours. It appeared like they were new and fresh, as if someone was walking away at that time. Whether it was a ghost or an invisible man, I could not decide. Then I came back. Now, when we don't see the reason or the logic behind something, we usually get scared. We think about ghosts or invisible people. Maybe those footprints were made when you were not in the park. You left, that person left and you came. It can be a coincidence, right? That's why you did not see them, but here you are assuming that it could be a ghost or an invisible man. And that's why you decided to back off and go away. Now, turn to page number 55. Use the joining words given below and join the sentences in column A and B. So we have to join the sentences. I can sing well. I forgot to post it. That's not how it works, right? We have to match them. Now one has been done for you. I wrote the letter but I forgot to post it. Letters are for posting. Now in a contradictory situation, we will use but. There are other words like or is an option and is when two things are taking place together. So is we are stating a fact. And because is when we are giving a reason, and but is used when there is a contradiction. So let's see. The first one is I can sing well but I can't dance at all. So the person has a talent of singing, not dancing. So these are two different things, so we use but. She wore a raincoat because it was raining. We are giving a reason. We may go to Shimla or we may go to Darjeeling. Now we are given an option over here. It is either Shimla or Darjeeling. That's why we are using or. He wanted a book and football for his birthday. He needed two things. That's why we are using and. He missed the school bus, so he was late to school. We are giving a reason, not an explanation. When we are giving a reason, then it is so. If we are giving an explanation, it is because. I wrote the letter, but I forgot to post it. I hope I'm very clear. These were the sentences. You have to write it in your textbook. Next, look at the footprint shown here. Hint, this is the footprint of the first man on the moon. You should at least know the first man on the moon. That was Neil Armstrong. Next, let's create a pyramid. We are given a few clues and from that we have to write it. Now, the first two letters begin with B, the three letters C, four letters D, five letters E and six letters F. So, let's make this pyramid. B, cat, doll, eagle and facial. Now, you can use other words as well, like cup, right? So it's up to you how you make this pyramid, but the first letter on top should be B, second one should be C, third one should be D, then it should be E and F. Now, we are given to work in pairs. Have a conversation with your partner based on the picture below. You can start as, now we can see here we have two hunters looking at footprints and they look like an animal's footprint. Now let's see what they will talk about. We can make our own dialogue, right? Look at the footprints in the mud. Now there are two hunters. Let's make a conversation on what they are talking about. This does not look like a human footprint. It's true, they are not humans' footprints. Of course, this looks like a giant elephant's footprint. Do you think it's a giant elephant's footprint? But how is it possible? There is not a single elephant in this jungle. Now this is the kind of dialogue that you can write. Now let's summarize what we did today. First we did the new words and the meanings and the question answers that you had to write it in your notebook. Then we were given multiple choice questions. We were given a situation. Multiple choice questions, you have to write it in your textbook. We were given a few questions or situation and what you would do. That you have to write it in your notebook. Then we were given jumbled words in a sentence. We had to unscramble them and form a sentence. Then we had to fill in the blanks with the joining words. We had to write a story about strange footprints. That you have to write it in your textbook. Then on page number 55 we were given joining two sentences in the column by using the joining words in the textbook. Then we were asked whose footprint it was. It was Neil Armstrong's on the moon. We were given a pyramid that we formed and write that in textbook. Then we were given a pair where two hunters are discussing about something. You can make your own dialogues. It's not necessary that you copy this. This dialogues, you have to write it in your notebook. That's all for today. You have to send this work before 10 a.m. tomorrow. I hope you have understood. Bye-bye.